You're here.
Some of them don't, if you see it over here, KSDR1.net, then you don't need to do it. Okay. Some of them don't have it, so now you just import it again. Okay. Just import it out.
Thank you.
Hey, Becky.
What do you need?
Brian and Todd. They're in the conference.
Profile error occurred. She needs help.
I didn't even try and use my badge today. Okay, I'm good at ignoring it. Sir.
Anybody else?
Not good, thank you.
But we know I'm not wearing glasses
Mike like
Call to order the Kearney R-1 Board of Education. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Meredith Cole,
Here.
Brian Ham,
here.
Dan Holloway, John Kern,
Here.
Bree Switzer,
here.
Susan Morman,
Here.
Darlene Bailey.
Here. We have a quorum. Adopt, amend, or amend the agenda.
Move to amend the agenda to add approval of salary schedule as an action item.
Second. All
Is that
those
a call? No. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. We have no public comment this evening, correct? Okay, recognitions. First of all, we have Dustin McKinney presenting, oh, this is backwards, even I know that. Sorry, we have Mrs. Heil, Mr. Heil. It says Dustin McKinney Band. You didn't switch, did you?
Made that mistake.
That's okay.
Good evening. This evening we're going to recognize our students who were involved with the State Solo and Ensemble Festival. So these students performed at the District Solo and Ensemble Festival at the end of March. And students who earned an exemplary rating would then qualify to perform at the State Music Festival at the end of April. So those students we took to the University of Missouri and they got to perform at the end of April. They performed very well. All students earned a medal. They earned either a gold, silver, or bronze rating. And we're super proud of them. They had to do a lot of extra work outside of school to put these solos and ensembles together. So we're very, very proud of them this evening. So, you want me to read their names?
Please.
Okay, and you can see them up there. We have Chloe Bonham. I'm going to actually read off my sheet, if that's okay, so I can say their events as well. So, McKenna Brown and her alto saxophone solo. Avery Brown had an alto saxophone solo. Avery Morgan, I'm sorry. Kaylee Romero had a bass clarinet solo. We had a mixed clarinet trio of Kaylee Romero, Tax Bossert, and Ariana Spruhan. Flute solo by Emma Cobb. Mallet solo by Anna Jensen. A saxophone trio of seniors, McKenna Brown, Adam Hoffman, Chloe Bonham. A clarinet solo by Lily Jackson. Trumpet solo by Connor Dodd. And trumpet solo by AJ Boltman. And a trumpet solo by Trent Fritz. So 11 very successful events. We're super proud of them.
Okay, Chloe.
Actually, it'll be in alphabetical order, if that helps.
I'm going to make it 2 lines for a photo.
And guys, while you're standing there, if you can arrange yourselves by altitude, that would be great. Parents, I'm going to get a shot, and then it'll be your turn.
We love you, McKenna.
Almost there. Yep, good. And I'm going to have you go. Yep, perfect. Okay, excellent. Awesome. This is way. Big smiles. Fantastic. Good. Awesome. Parents, your turn. I'm just going to throw that. There you go.
Sorry, I got to see your face. She's the prettiest part of me. So. Thanks, sir.
Lighting up. Over here.
In fact, so.
All right, so for vocal music, it's essentially the same process for instrumental music, so I'm just going to take the lazy way and say what Jamie Hahn said. But I am very, very happy to announce that these students have qualified for state vocal music. Every event that I read off when I read the names, they received a gold rating in state, which was pretty incredible. I've never had a year where everybody qualified for the gold. This is first for me, and it was exciting. And I was excited because as each rating came in, you get more and more excited for the kids. So I'm going to try to remember everybody's events. I'm going to call them off in order. So we had Heidi Adams with an SSAA quartet. We have Chloe Bonham, SSAA quartet and SATB double quartet. Ryan Bowles, SATB double quartet and vocal solo. Eliandra Cooper, vocal solo. Heidi Eberhardt, vocal solo, SSAA quartet and SATB double quartet. Shelby Flanagan, which I don't see Shelby here today, was SATB double quartet. Keenan Haynes, SATB double quartet. Creason Kane, SATB double quartet. Jessica Riley, SSAA quartet and SATB double quartet, and Daniel Robertson, SATB double quartet. Let's go ahead and go 2 rows. So let's put like Chloe, Leon, Creason, and Keenan in the back. And then let's find windows with group of 5 in the front. And then just go and take 1 step back. And then 1 step over. And then everybody look forward like you're happy to be here.
Yep. There we go. Perfect. Okay, big smiles. Awesome. Parents, got it.
All right, now smile for you. Okay, just want to go closer. Now put squares on everybody's faces. See, and now if you have stuff in your teeth, you can do it. Yay. Good. How about
Thank you all for coming. And I can personally attest, as having a child in both the band and the choir programs, I do know which director is which one. And he's had a wonderful experience, and I'm very excited about the programs and what they've been able to do, especially after 2 years of COVID. They didn't get to do all the things that they wanted to or go all the places. They've really rebounded this year and done a wonderful job. I believe now we have a video that Ray has put together. We want to take just a few minutes to recognize some of our teacher and staff accomplishments, those that have been named the Teacher of the Year for their building and staff, and we also want to take this time to recognize some of our retirees from the district this year. And we really appreciate all of the hard work that they have given to the district for many, many years, and we just want to take a moment and recognize them.
Is that it? We're good?
That's it. That's very
All
good.
right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, next we have the consent agenda.
Move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second. Any questions about any items in the consent agenda? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Ratification and approval of grant applications.
That's part of
That's
consent.
part of, I'm sorry, that's part of consent, excuse
Yeah.
me.
Action items.
We're actually down to B, sorry about that. So action items, A, approval of the go-to-market resolution.
I believe Todd Goffey is here this evening. As you know, from the passage of the bond on April 5th, we are preparing for the sale of those bonds, which will occur on June the 22nd. As part of that work, you have before you this evening a go-to-market resolution. And Todd is here from Piper Sandler to provide some information and answer any questions you might have. Mr. Goffey, thanks for being here.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. And first of all, congratulations on the election results last week or last month. So that was a very nice victory to have those bonds approved. So as Dr. White mentioned, what you have for action tonight is a go-to-market resolution. We have started already taking some of the steps, but this will kind of be the formal authorization to continue on with the steps to issue the $44 million of bonds. A couple of the next big action items that we'll have in front of us is to move forward with a bond rating process. So we'll be undertaking that in the next few weeks, and then putting together and finalizing some of the bond documents ahead of the June 22nd board meeting that you have that night. Earlier that day, on June 22nd, we'll be conducting a competitive sale of the bonds. And so on that morning, we'll have a competitive process that's done electronically over the internet on selling those bonds. We'll have the final interest rates for you that will be in the bond resolution that night for your approval, and then we'll have set up a bond closing shortly after the 1st of July. Rates have been going up. I'm sure maybe you've read or heard or experienced that since January. We've looked at the projections. We're still quite comfortable that based on where we are today, that the plan of finance remains intact from what we had communicated to you and what you had indicated to the public of maintaining the debt service levy at the $1.19, so the no tax increase bond election. So that all looks good, and be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Do you have any idea where you think that interest rate's going to land?
Good question. It'll probably be close to 4%. And if you would have asked that question in November, December, it probably would have been closer to 2%. So it's been a pretty meaningful increase since January.
When you say you sell the bonds, are you breaking them out, or are you doing it all as one big $44 million bond, or how are you?
Just a single series of bonds.
Single series, okay.
And so there's cost efficiencies of doing just a single series versus breaking it up.
Right.
Certainly consideration if we needed to, but you're able to spend, reasonably expect to spend all the money within 3 years. So we think issuing the bonds now makes sense, eliminating interest rate risk. If rates would continue to move up, you'll already have your rates locked in on June 22nd.
Any other questions?
Get it done sooner. Keep that rate down.
Move to approve the resolution authorizing the district to offer the public sale general obligation bonds of the district in the approximate principal amount of $44 million, authorizing bond counsel to proceed with necessary documentation, and authorizing the financial advisor to proceed with the necessary sale documentation as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
One note, thanks Todd, if he's still here. Thank you Todd for all the work you did.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Adoption of board policies on second reading.
Move to adopt board policies on second reading as presented.
Second. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Item C, readoption of policy BBFA.
Move to readopt policy BBFA as presented.
Second. Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Approval of bill for coal printing.
Move to approve payment to coal printing as presented.
Second.
I abstain. So do you want to do that roll call?
Yes, and we'll do that roll call. Ms. Cole on our board is related to whole printing, so we are required to approve this one separately, so. Roll call.
Meredith Cole. I abstain. Brian Ham.
Yes.
Dan Holloway. John Kern.
Yes.
Bree Switzer.
Yes.
Susan Morman.
Yes.
Darlene Bailey.
Yes. Program Evaluation Professional Development, Mrs. Scott.
So most of the detailed information was given in the written program evaluation, so this is just kind of high level what we've been doing for the last couple of years. This is our professional development team. Allie Stewart is a huge part of this as our elementary curriculum coordinator, along with Clara Steffen and Elizabeth Harrod-Hill, who are reading interventionists. All of these ladies do a lot of professional development with the staff. And then, of course, my administrative assistant, Penny Frick, who tracks everybody's professional development and Flex PD and does a lot of work. Another group that is fairly new to the district, this team was formed last year. It's our 21st Century Skills team. So it's 24 teachers across the district representing K-12. They are focused in on helping our teachers integrate 21st century skills into their classrooms. These are the areas that they are really focused on as they are presenting this PD. Last year, this team, they met together. They really have developed as a team. They've done a lot of professional development themselves, along with the first semester of this year. Second semester, they have been providing professional development monthly in each of their buildings. Teachers can sign up to do this PD and count it as their Flex PD time. They have provided just some awesome professional development for the teachers. This is especially important since PD has been tough with a lack of subs the last 2 years. It's just been really hard for teachers to be out of the classroom. So having this available after school, it's been valuable. So this is actually for the 2021 school year, due to the fact that we were dealing with the pandemic. Truly, our focus was to teach teachers a new way of teaching. We needed them to be able to teach both synchronously as well as asynchronous. I think if you would have asked any of us at the beginning of that school year if we thought there was a high possibility that we were going to have to shut down at some point, everybody would have said yes. And our teachers had to be ready to carry on if that were to happen. So teachers learned new programs, new way of teaching. We ended up having the devices to be one-to-one, and our teachers needed to know how to use those devices appropriately. So then, this year has been much better. Still, it's hard for our teachers to be out of the classroom a lot, but we've been pretty strategic in how we've been able to use subs this year. So these are like our big ticket items on what we have done. Proficiency skills at the elementary level. That has been a huge push. That was 9 days of professional development, bringing all of our core teachers in with an outside trainer from the Northwest RPDC. She came in and worked with the teachers. We had 35 teachers go through project-based learning, most of that taking place over the summer, so that amount also includes stipends that were paid to the staff. Orton Gillingham it's a literacy training for our teachers. Most of our teachers have already been trained. This is for any new teachers to the district, or sometimes we have teachers that have changed grade levels and they need to be trained or retrained. We had BIST, which is a behavior support, different organizational conferences such as librarians or counselors, administrative conferences, and then just collaboration time that we give our teachers. So that would really be an expense for subs. Just different things that we were also able to do through the year are, of course, we have to have our teacher, any teacher who teaches a Project Lead the Way class, they have to be trained in order to teach that class. Summer Institute, additional social emotional learning training. I won't read all those to you, but these are other items. We also, these all included multiple teachers. Of course, we also have teachers that do different training just individually. Strengths of our program, certainly our elementary curriculum coordinator. She has done so much with our elementary staff, and she works closely with the reading interventionist coaches. I think part of the strength of the program is flexibility. I believe our teachers know what they need for professional development, and they know we seldom have denied a teacher professional development if they ask for it. As a matter of fact, I can't remember when we have denied anybody. We've had to change some things because of sub shortages, but other than that, if they ask for it, we take care of that. And then the other thing is, of course, our teachers are incredibly committed and dedicated, and we do a lot of train the trainer type things. So if a teacher goes out, they do come back, they train other staff. So we're very fortunate to have the staff we do. Opportunities for growth. These last 2 years have been really tough for our non-core teachers because we have been focused in on these different areas, and there has been a shortage of subs, and we really, it's been hard for teachers to be gone, so we only do it when absolutely necessary. We know we need additional social emotional learning training. Those issues are just getting more prevalent. And then, I don't know if it's an opportunity for growth, it's just a tough situation that we always need more subs. Our focuses right now for next year, we will continue with the proficiency scales. This next year they'll be working on assessment alignment. We have developed our portrait of a graduate, but now the real work begins on that, and the planning stages of that now starts. Project-based learning, we'll be continuing with that. Our goal, of course, is when the new elementary building opens, we will have project-based learning units aligned to all of our pathways that all of our elementary buildings will be facilitating. Real-world learning will remain a focus for us. We already know our biology teachers. Every couple of years now, they've been going to the National Biology Conference, and they've already requested that. And that is set for them to go to Indianapolis this next November. Actually had a meeting with the Professional Development Committee today. They brought up things such as we know we are starting to get more English language learners in the district and helping them to learn how to work with those things. So, and they gave us several ideas today of other things that we're going to want to be doing. And that's it. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Move to approve the program evaluation for professional development as presented.
Second. All in favor? Thank you. All opposed? Thank you. Approval of agreement with 1 GPA in frontline education.
This is important work that the district is undertaking in order to provide you with tools that can best forecast and project both budgetary information as well as historical data that can assist you in making some really good decisions. As the name suggests, it's frontline, but it's also forecasting. That allows you to do that. Kudos to Dr. Morrison, who has kind of led this charge along with Brian Blankenship and Ginger to bring this to you. Dr. Morrison, anything else you would like to say?
I think this is a needed piece from the standpoint of when you look from a budget standpoint, especially when at this time of year when we're looking at staff salaries, being able to forecast what we have, especially if you understand some things that you're coming out of legislation, possible new revenues and those things, so you can plug those in and give the board good information as well, and help out Ginger's team in there. So it's something that can help support numerous departments.
It's my understanding that the funds for this have been reallocated within existing. This is not new money that we're spending. I asked Jeff about that earlier, just to,
Correct.
in case anybody asked.
I'm looking around Jeff to verify with Ginger, yes.
Does it replace anything existing that we have? It's not.
Yeah, I think that if you reflect on the conversations that we've been having, this would provide you with the ability to have more substantial data in order to support some of those conversations, and you can run them fairly quickly. It also, I think, improves the efficiency of staff as well. You spend a lot of time creating the data that you have now, and this would only increase the both efficiency as well as the archiving.
But it's primarily focused around the budget, is that
Yes.
what I understand?
There's different modules that you can add on as time goes on, but we believe that both from a price point and just to impact the work in the most favorable way would be the budget to begin with.
Any other questions?
Move to approve agreements with 1 GPA and frontline education as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Item G, salary schedules, approval of salary schedules.
So as you see in your packet there, we have salary schedules ready for you. This has been culmination of work that has come over some months with the salary committee, but more importantly in the conversations that you as a board have had in order to support your teachers and your staff members in the coming year. You will see that there are two notable absences from this information, and that is your classified staff and your extra duty. At your request, you have provided direction and guidance to the administration to go back and basically seek additional revenue that can be expensed in those areas in order to take care of your staff. And so we offer these as an opportunity for you to discuss and consider your salary schedules in these three areas for the 22-23 school year.
How long do you think it'll take for you guys to rework looking at that classified?
I think we can bring it back in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I mean, we're closing down the school year. We've got a holiday in there, but I think we can get it back to you rapidly. We want to. Again, you've charged us to go back and dig and provide as much as we can to all of these salary schedules, but in particular, a continued work on the classified, and we want to get that back to you as quickly as we can.
Does this include the piece for the health benefit?
Great. Dr. Morrison, talk a little bit about that.
So, last month presented on the salary information that board pays $500 and our basic health plan is about $537 and some change. In that information that we talked about, if we increase that board paid amount to $525 to start closing that gap, that information was presented to you as a benefit also to our staff, and so we want to help close that gap.
Who are our peer group? Do we, I mean, are we, does all the peer group pay in full or?
Yes, we're the only one out of our peer group that doesn't. We have the second to lowest premium out of our
peer group, so that's the other piece of it. And then last year we did a step in 3, this year we're doing a step in 3. So obviously, you know, inflation's the topic of everybody's conversation, but 6% over the last 2 years.
And last year also the board bumped the board paid from $475 to $500. This year, I presented last month that if we went from $500 to $525.
Any other questions? Discussion?
Yeah, can you
Would you hit refresh, please? All the board hit refresh. Updated your motion based upon your conversation.
Well, I think this is a lot better than last month at the 1%. You know, this is obviously we're doing the best we can with the times that we're in for our teachers. We're trying to push every penny we can towards them and do everything we can to support them. And I think that hopefully they see that that's our goal.
Did yours refresh?
Mine doesn't look any different, I don't believe.
Hang on, let me save it again.
Can we just read it? You okay with that, Bree?
I mean, I guess, but it's kind of my job.
Hang on, I got it. Hang on.
Well, while we're doing this technical aspect, I just want to comment on what John just said. And again, if you will, consider me as somewhat unattached, although you're interim, but I see this in a one-year stint. In my estimation, what you have done, both through the salary committee as well as the board conversations, the work that Ginger has done, along with Becky and others, you are doing your very best to retain the staff that have created the Kearney School District as it is, but also attract those that would be coming to you as well. And even so, when we presented information to you, you asked us to go back and see if we couldn't do a little bit more. So I can attest that to John's comment that you were doing so, and it's appreciated to see that. So well done.
Move to approve teacher, building administration, and district administration salary schedules and step movement for the 2022-2023 school year and increase the amount of board paid insurance premiums by $25 as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. And thanks, you may be a short timer, but we do appreciate your work and the leadership of the staff and the ability to come together and share information and do things in a timely fashion when we needed to do so. So thanks to the board as well.
And I think it'll get better with that one GPA front line. You know, it'll make it easier for us to communicate with the administration on where we need to go.
Run down areas.
Yeah. We'll get better too.
Information items, financials. Ginger?
And looking at the fund balance report, you'll see that we are on track at the end of the year with a healthy operating fund balance. Did anyone have any questions on the other reports?
Any questions for Ginger?
Thank you, Ginger.
Construction update. Dr. Morrison and Ben Vanderhoff will be here to talk to us a little bit. Are you ready to talk? Oh, okay. Okay.
We also want to recognize DLR, pardon me, as being here as well. Wave.
Kevin and Megan, from DLR.
Thank you.
Okay, so quick update of what's going on. So we're working on the district office refresh project, the old Mosaic building first. That's the first one out of the gate. And design is complete for that. So we got those drawings last week and we put it out to bid to trade contractors. So the timing, we're probably going to take bids from those folks the 2nd of June. And then our goal is to come for maybe a special board meeting. Did we talk about that at all?
So we'll kind of talk, yeah, we'll bring that. We would like to, as you guys are kind of aware from past in construction, looking probably somewhere, and Becky will bring that out, but June 16th to approve bids for that.
And we
project.
can be flexible there if we need to wait till the 29th board meeting or whatever it was, that we just start that much.
26.
So, yeah, it's just starting a week later, so if it's not a big deal on the back end. The project would finish early October, so 1 week's not gonna make a difference, and we can just come to the regular scheduled board meeting, but.
Do I get to hold you to October?
Say what?
Do I get to hold you to October?
You get to push it back however.
I'm going. He said October.
No, really, this will be a pretty quick hitting project. DLR's done a great job and tried to reuse a lot of the spaces, like a lot of the light fixtures we're going to reuse in there. We're just reconfiguring some rooms in there to make it fit what the district needs. So that helps because on a fast project, a 14-week project like this, materials are usually the problem. And so, you know, a couple things, casework will be a long lead time item, but most of the items shouldn't be a problem. So it should go quickly, and we're excited to get started. I think big picture, we're also working with the design team on theater, is kind of the next thing out of the gate. So there's a list of, kind of a shopping list of potential items that's gone to the staff, and they're reviewing that now. So we'll attack that as soon as some decisions are made, and that won't be something that's ready for school start, but it's probably something that we can work around theater activities to, you know, plug in lighting when we can and not disturb things too much.
When are you guys going to share the renderings, or, you know, did you guys 3D model the new building?
The new building or the mosaic?
Mosaic, it's a new building.
I've seen it.
We have plans, but we haven't done any 3D modeling.
Okay.
We can share it.
Yeah, if they get something, I can share Friday update.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yep.
I'd just like to see it.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm hoping we're going to see a cool wall.
I don't know, are we gonna see a cool wall?
Yes, we will see a cool wall.
Cool wall.
So,
This is
so
cool wall. This is cool.
something similar, as you walk in, right by the receptionist desk, there's the big wood sign that has Kearney School District. And so that will be taken over there because we'll want to continue the theme of the wall for the early childhood over here.
Okay.
In there, and then also there'll be a cave that'll be in a kind of a backdrop in the board area. So there's some things that I think that have been done in the past project that I know that everybody has enjoyed on this board, and so that has been noted by both Newkirk and Novak and also DLR. So Tammy and Ian have done a good job with design.
Just know that building's a lot shorter, so you get the big wall seating on the border.
And the
Well, maybe-
boardroom is a little bigger too, it's different.
Yeah,
It's
kind of be a
yeah, it's
reconfigured
reconfigured
L
differently, but it looks like it's
that
bigger.
will provide more seating space, and but then also double up as a then allow for Ms. Cobb's team to host professional development over there as well. So I think it's a very good plan that both groups have come up with. So I appreciate their work.
And then if you look at the big bond program, so there's discussions going on an elementary school site right now. Our teams are doing some analysis on what it takes to feed utilities to that site, so the district can make some decisions on if that's the right property or not. So things are starting to churn on that side too, so getting some momentum.
And as we move admin out of this building, children will be able to flow into here the best we can while you guys are still configuring this area. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, really, this space will not want to get renovated until next summer. And so if there's a way to use use it with the staff kind of as it sits right now, you can for sure do that, but you're not gonna want construction workers, even if we didn't partition this off.
Sure.
I wouldn't want my kids trying to sleep with construction people over here. So,
Bible helps the hammer.
any questions for me?
So what you just mentioned related to the utilities and the work you're doing there, when will we expect to hear an update on that?
So I actually had a meeting today with some civil engineers, talking about, they've started conversations with Platt Clay and I believe the gas company. I think we can have, we ought to be able to price things in the next couple of weeks. And then that would allow the district to negotiate and do the things they need to secure that property if that's the right decision. So it'll be a pretty quick turn on that stuff. Yeah. There's actually a really good head start on it right now.
And you had mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I think, or Jeff, you may have, about the design meetings for the new elementary. And so they did that yesterday and today, and I attended just to observe a little bit, and there was a lot of really good positive energy coming out of that room, and with all the teachers and staff that were in there dreaming big. So thank you for that, because it was a great session.
And I'll add the theater with that renovation in there. DLR's brought together kind of their team, from their theatrical team as well, to kind of talk with local theater in that portion of kind of what is the wants, what is those needs in there. And so put together a few packages in there. We're going to go back and talk to the high school team later this week and get information back to DLR to give them some guidance in there. And some things in there, obviously, we want to do some things, but we may have to do it in phases just because of lead time. For an example, like seats. That may be something that may need to take a little bit of lead time, but they have a pretty good plan put together. And so we want to kind of talk back with our individuals at the high school team, and then give from that narrative, kind of give that back to DLR and Kirk and everybody, so we can start now on that work.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Board policy update, Dwayne? Thank you all for coming.
Good evening. It's good to see everybody. Just want to begin by thanking you for your confidence in us in making the transition to Ed Council Guide Service, which is obviously going to be the system of rules and regulations that will guide the work of your school leaders in the future and your staff and your students. And this is something that we've already started working on. I'll kind of give you an update of kind of where we're at, and then maybe a little bit more about the plan going forward to make the transition. Since your decision last month, it seemed like it was longer ago than that, but last month we've been working pretty diligently to get things moving. Had a number of meetings here in district and collaborated with a number of different stakeholders about how to put together student parent handbooks and a number of other things as well. So just to kind of orient you again and remind you about a couple things, the system that we have for Ed Council Guide Service really consists of 5 major components. You have the district policies, of course, and you're accustomed to those with the policy service that you had before. But this service is expanding that, and it's beyond the district policies. We have student parent handbooks, we have an employee manual, we have a manual for the board, which would include board operating norms and procedures, but then also an admin manual, all of which are approved by the board, except for the admin manual, okay? And so we're going to be bringing those things to you at different points to have you approve those. We front load a few of those documents, just given the need to have them online from the beginning of the school year and have everything lined out. Student parent handbooks would be one of the first ones of those, and because that's the leading edge, that's what we've engaged on the most to So, student parent handbooks probably is the heaviest lift because we're doing something for each building. And so that takes, we want that building leader's hat on this and to look at it and to make sure that we're aligning everything with their practices as much as possible. We also, in addition to the student parent handbook, we have to really think early and often about the district policies. And that's something that will be coming back to you soon with those to have the board weigh in on those things. What we do, just so you understand our methodology when it comes to how to transition from your current policy service over to EGS, we, of course, have master documents in each one of those components that I just mentioned. So we have master policies, we have a master student parent handbook, master employee manual. And what we do is we take what you had on the books, primarily from your board policies, but also what you had in student parent handbooks and that sort of thing. And if you really kind of go through those, you'll see that that is a product of numerous board decisions, policy decisions over time. We take those policy decisions and roll them into the master documents that we have for EGS. So we end up with a master document that's EGS and part of the system, but it also incorporates the decisions that this board's already made. From there, we sit down and we collaborate with the pertinent stakeholders and see if there's an opportunity to review or refine and revise. That may deal with aligning it to current practice because maybe what we have on the books doesn't line up necessarily with what we're doing. Perhaps your documents don't align right now. You may have district policies that say one thing and student parent handbooks that says something else. And we also look for opportunities for improvement. And if there are opportunities to reset that we need to, then it's opportunity for your leaders to kind of weigh in on that and ultimately the board to weigh in. So in the process right now, we're pretty close to having student parent handbooks lined out. We've got one more meeting tomorrow, and then I think we'll have a solid draft for everybody. Elementary, we've conferred and really got that document to where pretty close to where it needs to be. Probably a little bit more fine tuning, but it's pretty close. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll be having a second meeting with our secondary principals and kind of lining it out there. That's a little bit more complicated, has a little bit more to it, but just a little bit. But I think we're pretty close. And then once we really have that and we feel comfortable that we've got the student parent handbooks in pretty good place, we're really going to turn our focus and pivot into the district policies in a big way. That it would be a part of what we need the board's engagement on much more than the other pieces at this point. So tentatively, we are planning on June 3rd, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Moore, I think that's what we've got on the books, to sit down with the board and go through some of these things. We would intend to have the district policies to you in advance of that, so you have an opportunity to review some materials before that. Maybe even highlight some of those key decision points that we want to make sure that you are thinking about, so we can make our time together most productive. The employee manual will be the next thing that falls into line, but that one usually comes together, frankly, pretty quickly because it's driven so much by your district policies. And then from there, we have a little bit more of an extended timeline, depending on what the board's pleasure is, for that board manual and having the internal practices of the board put together in a single source document for the board to refer to as well. And then the admin manual, that's going to fall on the shoulders of Dr. Miller, really, as she's bringing everything online and bringing all of this together for the beginning of the school year. So that's process and kind of where we are in terms of the plan. I'm certainly open to any questions and happy to talk through any of the aspects of it that you'd like.
When do you think the employee manual might be ready for review?
It'll be, I believe it should be ready to go in June.
Okay.
The thing that may hold that up a little bit, Susan, would be just depending on how much of the board or the district policies we end up waiting on board decisions on. As you can imagine, that's going to roll right into the employee manual. And one of the things that I need to confer more with Dr. White and Dr. Miller about is that structure on the 3rd, et cetera. do we front load some of those things knowing that it's gonna carry through to, for example, the employee manual?
Do you tend to see quite a bit of change, like so handbooks and stuff for parents coming in August? Is there a drastic change when districts are doing this?
Not really, Bree. What I would say is that, you know, hopefully it is a little bit better packaged than what they've seen before. And it's better organized and it makes sense for them to go to that. Really what our goal is to have a single source document so they're not having to worry about, okay, I've got a handbook here and then I've got policies over here and then, you know. So that's a little bit different, but it's one that's readily accessible and one that they can really, you know, wrap their minds around pretty quickly because it's right there it is. And so, but if you're asking about content change and how, you know, are we going to have abrupt shifts there? Not usually, because of the methodology I described where we're taking and really kind of rolling the decisions that you've made before. So a lot of those things aren't going to be changed. Let me give you a concrete example. You know, you've done a lot of work in this past year on your discipline manual. You know, that's not, we don't want to upset that the apple cart. We've gone through a process here, and we don't want to do violence to the work that you've done and the board's approved. That's a good example, and that's a kind of a very you know, parent-facing document that they're going to concentrate on a lot of times. That's one that, you know, it won't be changed. It'll be very familiar to them if they are at all familiar with what we have on the books now.
Any other questions?
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity to join you this evening.
Portrait of a graduate update.
Okay, so we talked to you guys during the real world learning update about our portrait of a graduate and creating it this year. It's a process. I'm sure some of you have seen pieces of what we have been doing along the way. But we did decide during our retreat last June that this was going to be the year that we were going to create our portrait of a graduate. We've talked about it for a couple years. Of course, the year before that was not the year to try to do anything. This was the year to do it. And this is quite an undertaking, but I will tell you, I don't know that I've enjoyed any project more than I have enjoyed this. I think this has just been super exciting. The task force we had, it was just awesome. The discussion that took place, this task force, they were so vested in this. So the steps we took for this, initially you saw Ray put together an informational video that was sent out to the community just explaining what a portrait of a graduate actually was. We sent 3 surveys out. One went to the staff, one to the students, and one to the community. And each of those surveys asked the participants to mark whether these different competencies were essential, desirable, or not needed at all. So we sent out invitations to community members, staff members, and we looked at former recent graduates to come back and help us as part of our task force. We had just an awesome group, and I'll tell you, some of our recent grads that are now out there just adulting incredibly well. It just made us super proud to see these, I'll call them kids, but they're adults now doing very well, and they were, they had such great insight for us on this. So the task force, we had them analyze all the survey results. We put a booklet together with the results, and then they had to go and align those results with our district goals and our initiatives, really look at what our community wanted out of this. They then took the competencies and they ranked them. Initially, they took the competencies down to what they felt were the top 7 competencies. And there was a lot of discussion to get to these 7 competencies, and we kind of merged some of them together, and I mean, it was just a great process. Then the next step, they talked about the different characteristics that students should be able to exhibit to truly say they have gained this competency. And then we went through the whole choosing the graphic concept and then selecting the final visual representation. So that is really fast, but let me tell you, that was a lot of work and a lot of discussion that these people did. So this is our final product. So here is our portrait of a graduate. You will see, I told you they came, they narrowed it down to 7 initially, but then when we got into another discussion, they ended up with 6. So we ended up with positive personal health, growth mindset, character, communication, global awareness, and future career ready. And if you click on that, it takes you down to, here's our key characteristics of each of those competencies. So Ryan, if you click on one of those, this was such a process, and some of these characteristics fell under multiple competencies. So getting them under the right competency, it was a huge puzzle. But as you can see, these are our positive personal health characteristics. And the idea is that our kids can exhibit this. When they walk across the stage at graduation, they will be able to exhibit these different characteristics of each of these competencies. And it truly involves, you know, the whole child. I mean, we're an academic institution, but we are really concerned about the whole child. We want to develop well-rounded, awesome people. So this is live on the website now, so you can go to it now and go through it and look at all of it. I will tell you the big work starts next year, because each of these characteristics that we came up with, we will say, what does that look like at every level? What does communication look like? For what characteristics should a first grader be able to exhibit? So we will put a team together. We will be working with a consultant. It's Getting Smart, and they will help us develop this plan. We will work next year developing the plan with full implementation the following year. Any questions?
Thank you.
Good job, Jennifer.
Thank you.
It's a lot of work.
Board member comments?
I just want to say, when you recognize retirees and all of that, I went to the Northland Chamber of Commerce education dinner, well, I don't know.
Excellence in education.
Yep. And congratulations to all the Kearney recipients for awards from that event as well. It was good.
Okay, important dates. Tomorrow, baccalaureate, May 22nd, as Mrs. Kopp just said, the most important thing we do is graduation, we hope. May 27th, last day of school, half day. June 3rd, special board workshop at 8 a.m. June 22nd is our next board meeting. June 30, we will have a special board meeting in the morning to approve year-end financials. Miscellaneous.
Action for closed session to immediately precede the meeting in June, including any record or vote to discuss items and issues allowable under section 610-021 of the Missouri Sunshine Law.
Roll call.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Meredith Cole.
Yes.
Brian Ham.
Yes.
Dan Holloway. John Kern.
Yes.
Bruce Switzer.
Yes.
Susan Morman.
Yes.
Darlene Bailey.
Yes. I think that's it.